Halito ang kana, sa Hochipoya Brian Oaster, Alapat High Country News. In the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma, Marilyn Vann is breaking ground as the first citizen of freedman status to work in tribal government. She's a retired engineer and a freedman activist, and this week she started her position on the tribe's Environmental Protection Commission. Vann spoke with HCN about what she hopes to accomplish, what this means for freedman descendants, and how she'd like to see more Cherokee kids pursuing STEM careers. So rent is terrible. Even for full-time working families in the West, it can be impossible to afford luxuries like roofs and walls. So why not live on public lands? Reporter Sarah Tory follows around some families who have packed up the kids, grabbed a tent, and tried life in the outdoors. It hasn't always worked. Cars break down, weather happens, and resort town NIMBYs sometimes call the cops on campers. But there are rewards for living outside the system. Don't miss this feature on how public lands factor into the housing crisis. Over in the Bay Area, communities are organizing for a different approach to housing solutions. What if we owned land collectively instead of individually? That sounds familiar. Organizers say private single-family home ownership has created generational wealth, but mostly for white people. For others, it's been an extractive disaster. But there are many ways to meet housing needs. Jessica Kutz interviews two people who are developing alternative models and even suggesting the end of private land ownership altogether. Blasphemy. But you know what's beautiful? Grasslands. In northern Montana, the Fort Belknap Indian community has partnered with the BLM for a grassland restoration project across tribal lands. They're collecting seeds from sweetgrass and other sensitive, culturally important plants, and the seed collecting is being done by indigenous teens and young adults, so that they'll be empowered to take ownership of healing the land. It builds their self-worth, switches them onto grassland ecology, and restores the land where it's been choked out with invasive weeds. HCN's Kylie Mohr reports. You can read these stories and of course much more this week at hcn.org. I'm Brian Oaster. Now you know the West. Chipizla Chiki.